Welcome to the second installment of my position breakdowns for the Indianapolis Colts. I'm Lawrence Owen, and this is Colts Law. And today we are going to go over the cornerbacks for the Indianapolis Colts in the 2021 NFL season. Now, as you know, the draft came and went. Indianapolis did not draft a cornerback. Indianapolis did not really sign too many big name known cornerbacks that were out there in free agency. They did bring back some of their own guys, which was a smart thing because in my personal opinion, some of the free agents that left that played for the Indianapolis Colts last year played very, very well. And I want to get into that here and now. Now, to start off, the Indianapolis Colts' first priority is that number one slot. You know, that number one cornerback out there on the edge. That is the most important position. You got to be able to hold down a team's number one wide receiver. And the Colts, the beginning of last year, signed someone to do just that in Xavier Rhodes, the former Minnesota Vikings cornerback who was released. And a lot of people thought it was a terrible signing when it happened, you know, because when he was released in 2019, Xavier Rhodes gave up an 81.5% completion percentage, a 123.8 quarterback rating. Oh my goodness. That's what he was giving up. But here's the deal. I wasn't one of those guys that thought it was a terrible signing. I was like, you know what? The Minnesota Vikings, they played him while he was hurt. They would not let him leave the field because the depth there was terrible. All right? Go back and look at my Xavier Rhodes film room. You'll see I was one of those guys that was like, when healthy, Xavier is a lockdown corner. And he proved me right. Last year for the Indianapolis Colts, in all 16 games on average, he gave up only a 51.9% completion percentage and a quarterback rating of only 84.5, not to mention 2 interceptions, one of which he ran back 44 yards for a touchdown. He locked down some of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And what about his tackling? He's only got like an 8.7% missed tackle percentage. Anything under 10% is great. I'm happy that the Indianapolis Colts was able to re-sign him. Yes, he's over 30, but he hasn't showed signs of slowing down. He's actually looking a lot better because in this zone scheme, this is the deal. In a zone scheme, you want guys who are long, tall, with good reaction ability and ball skills. And that's exactly what Xavier Rhodes brings to the table. And on top of that, he could actually play man coverage occasionally. You know, he's actually pretty decent at man coverage. So, I love the fact that the Colts re-signed Xavier Rhodes. And now, let's go back at the second best position in the cornerback position. Now, when I say second best, or second most important, when you think of most important, that's covering your the number one wide receiver. The second most important is not necessarily covering the number 2 wide receiver of the team. It's that slot receiver. You need to have a really good slot corner in today's NFL. And with the Indianapolis Colts, they have one in Kenny Moore II. Now, Kenny Moore did have an off season last year. For instance, in 2019, he gave up a 70% completion percentage, but it was he only gives up very, very little when it comes to quarterback rating, a 76.8, right? That's great as a corner. A 76.8 quarterback rating, that's what he gave up in 2019. Now, in 2020, it was a little bit of a down year for him. He gave up 72.3% completion percentage and a 97.2 quarterback rating. And he had a missed tackle percentage of 9.1%, which is kind of, on that line, in my opinion. Now, to be fair, Kenny Moore actually played against some really good slot receivers last year. And he was asked to do a lot more in different positions. You look at the completion percentages for his career. It's 71.3, 70, and 72.3. 72.3. But again, he's playing in a zone coverage the majority of the time. And it's very difficult when you don't get pass rush. A lot of passes come up very quickly from the slot, which is why Kenny Moore gives up a high completion percentage. I still like Kenny there. I think that with Matt Eberflus's zone defense, with the proper pass rush, and the Indianapolis Colts did draft 2 pass rushers this year to go with their, center guys, Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner. So we'll see how that works out. But Kenny Moore is an absolute stud. He's not the biggest guy out there when it comes to corners. He's actually kind of a smaller cornerback, but he's very quick, agile, very good at getting hands-on with a receiver without drawing penalties, which is a huge bonus when it comes to slot corners, because those are the kind of guys you're dealing with. A lot of shifty, quick guys out there at the slot corner position, those gadget guys, right? And Kenny really does a good job locking those down. So I believe that we have the slot corner locked down. Now, when it comes to the other outside corner, there are now 3 guys, I believe, that are vying for that position, the starting left cornerback position for the Indianapolis Colts. And the first one, first and foremost on that list, is the guy who's held down that position last year for the majority of the season, and that's Rock Ya-Sin. Rock Ya-Sin has shown abilities in multiple games where he is actually pretty darn good. But on other games, he shows that he has a bit of issue being a little too physical and ends up getting pass interference penalties. Now, the reason for this is basically he plays the role of the enforcer for the Indianapolis Colts secondary. He is that guy in the cornerback position that gets physical with receivers. And he's very good at it. He's that prototypical cornerback that Chris Ballard really liked when he picked him up in the second round in the 2019 draft. Now, last year he gave up a completion percentage of 67.2%. And a quarterback rating of a 98.7, which is right on the borderline of, I don't know. But even with, having that zone defense with Matt Eberflus, I have seen that he seems to be very good in zone, but where he has the problem is that man coverage, because he is a very physical corner. He likes to get up physical with people. And that ends up drawing a little bit of flags, especially when he has to cover the speed guys, right? When he covers the big-bodied physical receivers, he doesn't have that problem. It's the speed guys he has an issue with. He doesn't have that quick reflex to carry on with the guy in man coverage who's got the speed and quickness to just take off. And he'll get caught grabbing on a jersey or something once in a while. So that is a problem, and that's why he's one of 3 this year that will be vying for that position. Now, one good thing, as I said, he is basically an enforcer. He doesn't miss tackles very often. His missed tackle percentage is 6.3%. Last year, heck, his rookie year, it was only 6.1%, which is absolutely fantastic, right? Very, very good when it comes to tackling. The only issue is he needs to learn to be able to handle man coverage against those quick receivers. But because of his ability, his long arms and his height and everything that he has and his natural tendencies, he's actually pretty good in zone coverage. Make sure to check out the Colts Law merch shop. The link is in the description of this video. There are a ton of high quality, reasonably priced items there that you can choose from. And all you got to do is just click one button and you can go and check out all these great merchandise items. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please take a moment, smash that like button, and subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification bell so you're notified next time I go live or upload a video. I go live once a week, at least 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Friday. And I upload videos all the time for the entire NFL. So please, give me a follow, smash that like button, and until next time, have a good one. Now, one of the guys that is vying with Rock Ya-Sin for that left cornerback position is cornerback that they picked up in free agency last year and then re-signed again this year, cornerback from Cleveland, TJ Carey. And he's pretty much the complete opposite of Rock Ya-Sin. You know, he's not as physical, but he's better in man coverage and a little worse in zone. Last year when he came in multiple times as relief for Rock Ya-Sin or Xavier Rhodes, or when he actually started 2 games last year at the very end when he replaced Rock Ya-Sin as that left cornerback. On the year, he only gave up a 57.5% completion percentage. That's pretty darn good. And gave up a quarterback rating of only 78. Even. 78. That's a pretty solid outing for a guy who played quite a bit of snaps last year. And I believe that, again, he's not the best in zone. He's also a very good nickel corner. So he's a guy you don't want really starting games if you're afraid that you might need to bring in a guy to play the slot cornerback. You know, that nickel. Whereas, obviously, we have Kenny Moore, but Kenny's probably going to need some rest once in a while. And then what if you go out and you got 4 wide receivers, right? You're going to need another slot corner out there to cover the other slot receiver. And that's where TJ Carey comes in. But if he's that much better at playing the outside, then that's a good position to have him. The downside of TJ Carey, again, as I say, he's not the most physical, okay? He does have a pretty high missed tackle percentage of 11.1%. And like I said, anything over 10% I'm not a fan of. His last year in Cleveland in 2019, it was a 16.1%. He had 10 missed tackles in 2019. He had 9 missed tackles in 2018, but he only had 4 in 2020. So I like TJ Carey. I think this was a great signing and good depth. And I think that he will continue to be a very good cornerback for the Indianapolis Colts this year, whether he has to start or play a backup role. Now, the other cornerback that has a very, very slim and outside chance of winning that outside corner, that left cornerback position, is another 2019 draft choice by Chris Ballard, 5th round pick, 6'2", 200-pound safety, Marvell Tell. Now, I say safety because this is a guy who could play safety or cornerback. And currently, right now, he's listed as cornerback for the Indianapolis Colts on their roster, on their homepage. This is a guy who opted out last year due to COVID-19 and did not play a single snap. But in 2019, in his rookie season, he actually played 13 games, was targeted 35 times, and had 20 completions. That's about a 57% completion percentage, which is not terrible. It's actually pretty solid for a zone defense. The only issue is he gave up 12.2 yards per completion, which means that's about a 98 quarterback rating he was giving up. But, like I said, he's 6'2", 200 pounds. He's a very physical guy, much similar to Rock Ya-Sin. And he did not miss a single tackle during that season. That's right. He had a 0 missed tackle percentage. That's pretty impressive. And he's a guy, again, young, doesn't have the experience Rock Ya-Sin has, but is in a very similar mold as Rock Ya-Sin. And I believe he will probably get a lot more playing time this year. He may not win the starting position, but I got a funny feeling that he may end up being one of those guys that will get a lot of snaps. Also on the cornerback list is a very small corner, Xavier Rhodes. Now, Isaiah's 5'10", about $170, right? But in his unofficial pro day, he ran about a 4.3 40. He is a burner. Very, very fast. And with that speed and his small stature, he's used mostly as a return guy in special teams. But he's someone to watch out for because I believe he's somebody, again, who in certain situations you could put him out there in a nickel or dime situation where you need to cover a very, very fast wide receivers. So he could get some actual snaps at the cornerback position this year. A lot of people are high on Xavier Rhodes. I don't think he's going to get a lot of snaps. He may get a few starting out early just to test him out, especially this preseason and during training camp. He might work his way up in the depth chart. Who knows? He's kind of built in a way, as I said, more of, cover those speed guys. More of a nickel guy. Now, yes, we have two good nickels right now in Kenny Moore and TJ Carey. I don't see him being, he's only 5'10" and $170. I would not necessarily want him as an outside cornerback. But I think he would do a very solid job at covering ground because he is very quick, not just speed-wise, but athletically with good reaction time. So I think, in a zone coverage where you're able to cover the center of a field more so in zone coverage or playing man against the smaller, faster receivers. Now, there are 4 guys on the team that I don't know a lot about. There's not a lot of film about any of them. That's Chasher from San Jose State. He's 6 foot, about $195. And then Anthony Chesley out of Coastal Carolina, 6 foot, about $190. And then Will Sutherland, who is out of Troy, and he's 6'2", about 200 pounds. And then Roderick Teamer out of Tulane, 5'11", about $190. All 4 of these guys obviously are fighting for that one of the last spots on the roster to get to that 53. A couple of these guys most likely will be practice squad as they've been practice squad before, much in the same way Will Sutherland or Roderick Teamer was. Hopefully, for these guys' sakes, they can play special teams because that will make a huge impact on whether or not they'll make the 53 or even practice squad. I want to thank you so much for joining me as we went over this roster spot breakdown of the position of the cornerback position. I'm Lawrence Owen, and this is Colts Law. And until next time, as usual, have a good one.
Just because a player's not a household name doesn't mean we can't make him a household name.